Welcome to my Third Degree Show. My name is Andy Thompson, and we're back at it again consistently. Here we are, the Thursday before Christmas, and it's time. It's go time, babies. It's time to get down to it. Answer some no-joke questions. I'm rocking my Adidas. I'm trying to not bring Run DMC back, but anyway, got my Adidas on. And I have Adidas on my feet, too, so I'm not perpetrating. You know, that's perpetrating. You're not supposed to wear Adidas here and then Nikes on your feet, you know, like everybody else over there. Bruce, are you perpetrating? Totally, absolutely. No, you're not perpetrating. All right, well, maybe that's just the Boston thing. But anyway, we're here, and we are ready to get down, answer some questions. So let's jump right into it. Let's go.
All right, the first question for today, what is your pound cake recipe?
Oh my gosh, I cannot give away my pound cake recipe. So sorry. It's not something I'm going to share. It's not even my recipe. It's really my grandmother's sister, really, my aunt, and all of them are with the Lord right now. My grandmother's with the Lord, and I'll give a secret to my pound cake recipe. I'll just say this, that one of the secrets to it is everything needs to be room temperature. There you go. Everything needs to be room temperature. With somebody who really knows cakes, knows that the butter's got to be room temperature anyway. It won't mix if the butter's not room temperature. But it's not just the butter that needs to be room temperature. Your eggs need to be room temperature. And whatever liquid you're going to use. Some people use 7-Up. Some people use milk. Some people use whatever that is, needs to be room temperature. And I'll tell you one more thing. The oven needs to be cold. Oven needs to be cold. Almost every other cake, you put it into a preheat oven. You always preheat the oven. But with the pound cake, you put it in a cold oven. So I'll say that. Beyond that, I'm not telling anything else. I don't even know who would even ask that question. I bind you. See, if I tell everybody my cake recipe, then they don't really need me. I mean, quite honestly, I really don't care. I'm going to tell you the truth. I really don't care. Honestly, I don't. My pound cake recipe is very, very easy, okay? It's simple. And now I'm going to tell you what it is. It's easy. It's 3 sticks of butter. It's all threes. It's 3 sticks of butter followed by 3 cups of sugar, okay? You put the sugar into the butter. You beat it. You don't want to overbeat a cake. If you beat a cake too much, it turns out dry. For all of you that ever had dry cake, you make a cake and it's dry, it's because you beat it too much. You want to mix it till it almost feels like sand. So the butter, put the sugar in there, beat it together, okay? Then you have 6 eggs. The eggs need to be room temperature. That 6 eggs is in a bowl that's separate. And you mix that together with a teaspoon or more of vanilla and a teaspoon or more of lemon extract. I don't really measure it at this point. I just kind of eyeball it. Put the vanilla in there, put the lemon extract in there, beat those eggs, then add the eggs to the butter sugar mix. Mix that together, don't overbeat it. Then you're going to add 3 leveled cups of flour into that mix, one at a time. Mix it. Make sure it gets mixed well together. And then the final thing is, what are you going to add to it? Now, you got to add something else to it to give it some moisture. Maybe, like I said, a cup of 7-Up will kind of make it a 7-Up cake. A cup of milk will kind of make it a little bit more of a pound cake. You mix that together in your mixer or mix that together. I've been doing buttermilk to it, but not a whole cup. Maybe 3/4 of a cup of buttermilk has been making it really killer. Mix that together. Don't overbeat it. Spray your bundt pan or butter and flour it. I just use the baking spray. Spray it. Pour that mixture in there. Put it in that oven cold. And you're going to bake it at 325 for 1:25. And after that 1:25 is over, you're going to knife test it. Stick a knife in there, it comes out clean, it's done. If it don't come out clean, give it 5 more minutes. And you just 5 minute till it's done, depending on how your oven bakes. If you've got some kind of convection oven, it's going to bake even better. And there it is. If you make it, give me credit. It's not like I sell them, so I wouldn't tell nobody nothing if I sold them. I don't sell them. I make them for people, but even now, I mean, how many cakes do I make? Come on.
Your next question. Does your church have any Spanish church services?
We do not really have a Spanish church service, no. I know there's a lot of churches out there that do have Spanish services. Do have a totally separate service for people who primarily just speak Spanish. I don't really have a reason why we don't. I think that if there was enough of an outcry, then I probably would do it. If I do have some Latino people that go to the church, and clearly they speak English, at least well enough to be in our service. So but it doesn't mean I never will, and it doesn't mean that I'm against it, or I think there's something to be said about people hearing the word in their native language. I think that's powerful. I don't want to make any kind of generalizations. I think there are clearly a lot of Hispanic people that are in America that don't necessarily speak English all that well. And I'm not throwing any shade or being critical, because I don't speak not a lick of Spanish, which is, I mean, I'm a spoiled American. I don't speak Spanish. And I think that there's going to come a time, I think when you check 50 years from now, I think Americans will at least speak Spanish. I think a part of the reason why people in Europe speak multiple languages is because they're all living amongst each other. People that are French, and they're all around one another. So it makes some sense to be a little multilingual. For us here in America, it hasn't made a whole lot of sense. I think in the future it's going to make more and more sense, but I don't speak Spanish right now. And I'm 50, which means I'm never going to speak Spanish. So, hey, if I got a son in the ministry, some young kid that could preach and really could speak Spanish and was fluent and had anointing on him, and there may be a, world overcomers. I don't even want to try. It'll be totally offensive if I say something stupid like world overcomers or something. Just horrible. World overcomer. Just stop it. It would be great. I don't even know what overcomers is in Spanish. I don't know. But the answer to that question is no. You could have just said that, Pastor Andy. You could have just said no. No.
This one is from the website. I'm engaged to this amazing guy I've been dating for a little over a year now. He's caring, funny, educated, and amongst other great things, but he has a child from his old relationship, 4 years old. I thought that would make dating someone with, quotation marks, baby mama easier, but it hasn't. She's so difficult, immature, and petty. She calls often for things I don't find necessary, and in my opinion, she's needy and thinks he should be her personal ATM, even though he takes care of his son and spends time with him. This causes issues and arguments in our relationship. Is it the one thing we constantly have to discuss? Any advice on how to deal with this situation? I know how important it is to him to make sure he's actually raising his son, and I don't want to come off as not being supportive or insecure.
I mean, this is a tough question. I think it's a common question. I don't think it's an uncommon situation, so I think it's very applicable. I think it's a good question to answer, because I think it's a very common situation. I think if you find a black man, I don't want to assume the person's black, but if you're a black person, and if you find a man that does not have a child from a previous relationship, you're almost like, whoa, you don't have any children? I ask guys all the time, do you have kids? There are a lot of men that have a child from a previous relationship, and more likely than not, if he's engaged to you and didn't marry her, chances are you're nothing like her. Something's wrong with you if you're with a woman that's just like your child's mother. You might as well just have been with her. If you have a child with a person, you might as well be with the person that you have a child with. The reason why he's not with her and is with you is because you're nothing like her. And that's going to cause issues. And you just need to go into it with that as an expectation. I just finished preaching a message in California, and one of the points in my message was that one of the ways to stay connected to the vine, Jesus saying, I'm the vine, you're the branches, one of the ways to stay connected is to expect opposition. You're not going to stay connected in this relationship with this dude if you don't expect some opposition. Understand, opposition is going to come from somewhere. Unfortunately, the door that the enemy is going to try to use to attack your relationship is going to be through his baby's mother. But, I mean, it could be from somebody else. There are people who are watching this who are dealing with issues from their relationship that are coming from a different source. Maybe it's his mother, or maybe it's your mother, or maybe it's your friends, or maybe it's his friends, or maybe it's his sister that just don't like you. It's absolutely possible for there to be drama and issues that are caused to your relationship from someone. It just so happens that with you, it's the baby's mother. And I think if you walk into it with an expectation, the punches that really floor you are the ones that you don't see coming. And if he's a great guy, he's caring, he's loving, he's wonderful, then this is a bit of the thorn. It's his child. He wants to be in that child's life, and you want him to be in his child's life, because if you care about him, then you should care about this particular issue. And so what you're going to have to do is you're just going to have to be over and above it all. You're going to have to be like a Jedi. You're just going to have to be above the violence and above the drama and above the foolishness and above the craziness. And that comes from you knowing who you are and being strong in yourself. And if you have a strong sense of self, she's only a problem if you're jealous. She's only a problem if you're worried. You're the one that end up with the dude, which is the more valuable thing. And I hate to make it sound that way, as if the children aren't valuable. The children are valuable, but they're not as valuable as a good man. There's a gazillion children out here. A good man is hard to find. Those little kids everywhere. And I'm not belittling the value of children, but having children is nothing in comparison to having a man. And so you won. You won. She has his child, but you have him. And you should just expect it. You should be prepared for the opposition that's going to come. And be glad it's a boy, not a girl, because if it was a girl, it'd be worse. Be worse. Because if it was a girl, then his child's mother would be intimidated. She would be afraid that you're going to make her daughter think she's crazy, which you probably would. So she's going to send her daughter, if anybody's in this situation, yeah, the baby's mother is sending, and if you're some child's mother and your child's father is in another relationship, then that person just wasn't for you. But shame on you if you send your child out like a little bomb to mess up their relationship. You have to be more mature than that. Move on. Grow up. You ain't got to do nothing she say. Well, what do you mean? What are you talking about? That's your insecurity. And if that's happening, you have to expect it. And you have to understand why it's there. It's there because she's afraid. It's there because she's immature. It's there because she's insecure. She's afraid that her son is looking at his father and is thinking, this is the guy I want to be like. And so now the woman he's chosen is what I should value. And so she's afraid that she'll be less valued by her son. And if you understand that, then you understand her attitude. Now you're talking about stuff like ATM and needing money and being broke and calling him for all kinds of stuff, and that's just immaturity. But the deeper issue is that she's threatened, and She has a right to be threatened. And you need to take that as a sign of your triumph. She's threatened because she's lost and you've won. And along with the spoils of victory are the challenges of it. And that's a part of the challenge of it. And you have to take the good and the bad together. And so every time she calls, and you just need to be like, that chick, poor Keisha up in the sky. And you need to be laughing to yourself like, what Keisha want today? Poor Keisha. I certainly wouldn't bring it up. I wouldn't make a big deal of it. Ask yourself this question. Would you rather be, ask yourself this question. If she was there with him, would she be talking about you? Don't be there talking about her. You're there. Don't walk down the aisle thinking about her. Would she be thinking about you? You're in the position of strength, and when you're in the position of strength, people talk junk. Take it from someone who's in a position of strength. People talk junk. It's absolutely possible for people to not like you just because you're winning. Just because you win. People don't like the Yankees just because they've won too much. People don't like the Lakers. They won too much. People don't like Golden State. I'm sick of Golden State winning. Now they're going to get Boogie Cousins now too. Durant. People are mad just because they won. I'm sick of the Patriots winning 5 Super Bowls. It's ridiculous. Let somebody else get a chance. People get mad when you win too much. They got something to say. I've heard it said, I don't know about Pastor Andy. It's something about him. Well, sometimes the thing about you is that you win. And losers are bothered by that. Oh, you think you're good. Yeah, you do. You think you're cute. Yeah, no, actually, I do think I'm cute. You should think you're cute. Look at you combing your hair. Think you're so cute. Yeah. Oh, so now we're brushing our teeth. Yeah, I would like my teeth to be white. So anyway, you have to expect it, and it should only shake you if you don't want to win.
Which is most important to your organization? Your mission, core values, or vision?
I think they're all very important. I think, the vision, I think sometimes, especially whether we're talking about church or whether we're talking about a business. When I was there in California with my buddy, great dude, amazing guy, amazing wife, and really a great ministry. One of the things I said to him was, hey man, one of the things that I try to do here, and I try to encourage all the OCF guys, and all my OCF guys, trust you're watching, shout out. My event was great, and so many guys joined, and guys are still joining, and we want to help you as best we can. But one of the things that I try to encourage the guys to do is to talk about, well, why would I go to your church? What is it about your church, and what does it bring to my life? The day of just church carrying the moral ascendancy, or church having this kind of moral edge of, you need us. I know I talk about the generations a lot on this show, but they just they're just so relevant. I think the way the boomers were is, you need God. I need thee, oh, I need thee every hour. I need thee, oh, bless me now, my Savior. I come to thee. We were raised, the boomers raised us saying, no, you need us. You need God. You need church. Who cares if it's hot? You need it. Who cares if there's no parking? You need it. Who cares if your child got to sit next to you in church? You need the Lord, and you better bring your hips in here before you bust head wide open. You need church. That's how they were, and that's how they functioned. And if the sound wasn't good, so what? Because you need it. And if the choir robe smelled from the last people that wore it, so what? We ain't washing them robes. We ain't got no money to be putting them robes in the dry cleaner. You need to put that on and get up in that choir. You better play them drums before your hands don't work. Get paid. You better use your gift before God takes it from you, because you need him. Xers, we were raised that way, but we a little bit more, we're saying we want you to like God. We want you to like church. And so we tried to make church more palatable because we wanted you to like it. We want you to want to be there. And so I feel like it's become important now for the church to say, hey, this is our vision, or this is why we're here. Balanced victory for the God-designed life, but to talk about that on a regular basis to help people to know what it is that you bring. And we have to continue to remind the world why church is relevant. I think your vision and your mission are very closely connected. I mean, we already have a vision from Jesus, but what is the mission of your church? What is your vision statement? What is your mission statement? That's extremely important. What was the other thing they said? Your vision, your mission, or your what was the third thing? Core values. I mean, I think the core values are important because the core values are part of what sets the culture. And the plan ultimately is to create a culture. The culture is impacted by the atmosphere that you create. The atmosphere creates a climate, and the climate, when it's sustained, creates a reaction to that climate, and that impacts culture. So if you live in Hawaii, because of the atmosphere around Hawaii, the climate that's there in Hawaii dictates, it creates traditions, it creates social norms that have a significant impact on culture. Nobody's hula dancing in Alaska. It's too cold. No one's putting no flowers over your neck. There are no flowers. They'll put an icicle thing on your neck. And so because of the atmosphere, because of the climate, you have social norms that then create traditions that then morph into culture. In the same way you create an atmosphere and your cultural values are a part of the atmosphere, the worship's a part of the atmosphere, the words are part of the atmosphere, the way people interact with one another creates an atmosphere, and that ultimately leads to culture. And when culture is sustained, it can have a very broad ranging impact on people. I think one of the things that I'm proud of when it comes to World Overcomers is not just what we have been able to do here, but the cultural impact that we've been able to have on the church in the region. And I trust even on the world. I want to believe that. But the church in Durham is different now as a result of us being here. There's more worshiping churches, and there are more bigger churches than when we first got here. Now, people are moving here to try to do church. It's almost like when I first came here, people talked about Durham like, why would you come here to do a church? Now there are people who are trying to come here to do church. They see this as a good place to do church. And I think that's a good thing. I think the Lord has used us to impact the atmosphere. Use guys like Mike Lee to impact the atmosphere. And others. I think even guys that came before, because I'm not the only one. There were guys that came before, whether we're talking about the Timberlakes in Creedmoor or we're talking about Bishop Summerfield in Raleigh, just guys that kind of bore the battle in the heat of the day and started this, and whoever's shoulders they're standing on, that started a culture of growth and change. So I think having a strong sense of self, one of the things that I say to the young guys is, it's not just about knowing the word, it's about knowing your word. It's about knowing what the Lord has called you to say. And having a strong understanding of your cultural values. I was in a meeting, I can't remember what it was. I think it was definitely with Bishop Jakes. And Brian Houston was there. And my admiration for Brian Houston, of course, I'm just consistently motivated by Bishop Jakes. But Bishop Jakes, his gifting is at just such another level. And I'm not saying I'm not gifted, but the thing about Brian Houston is when I look at his gift, his administrative organizational structure, and he kind of shared his 10 cultural values for Hillsongs, and I realized that the sustainability of those cultural values is a part of what has made Hillsongs what it is today. So those are important. So the answer to the question is that they're all important. And I think one of the problems in the body of Christ today is that it's up to so many different individuals to come up with that. Because there was a time when denominations really ruled the kingdom atmosphere. And so you were trying to figure out what the cultural values were of the Kojic Church, Church of God in Christ. What were their cultural values? What were their core belief system? What was the core belief system of the Methodist Church? It wasn't necessarily up to you for you to come up with it. You were taught the denominational theological doctrine and cultural understanding. What was the core value system of the Church of God? What was the core value system of the Southern Baptist Church? It wasn't necessarily up to you to come up with one. You were just learning it and adhering it and then communicating it. And I think one of the challenges of the church today is that everybody thinks that they're a pioneer. And I don't know if everybody's a pioneer. And I'm a pioneer. But I don't know if everybody's a pioneer. And I think the saddest thing is to try to be one and you're not one. Okay, I'm done.
Can you recommend good and different date nights?
I think that really date nights is in the eye of the beholder. I mean, I think for a long time, Lashawn and I were doing Friday nights. Let me just suggest to you that you do one. I think it's important to spend some time together, and when I'm saying this to you, I'm saying it to myself. There was a time when Lashawn and I really, really were very, very consistent with our date nights. We've gotten less consistent with it. It's easy for life to just get busy. But I think especially if you're younger, I'm old. I think when you're young, it's important to really spend that time together, really have those conversations with each other. That's very, very important. To really make sure that you're communicating on a regular basis. Keep in mind that you don't spend enough time together. If you really think about it, by the time you go to work and she goes to work, by the time you pick your kids up from daycare or school and get in and try to figure out what dinner is and then deal with those kids. If you have more than one of them, good God, help us, Jesus, but you're 1 kid or 2 kids or 3 kids, by the time you get them through their homework and get them bathed and finally get them little rascals to finally go to their own beds, if you're together enough to get them in their own beds, which I hope you are, in their own rooms. If not, then you really need a date night. By the time you do that, how much time do you actually have together where you're just not exhausted? The key to a date night is you've got an hour or 2 where it's just the 2 of you. Get a babysitter. You get away from those children. You remind yourself of why you're together. If you don't do that, it's dangerous. I've said it before and I'll say it again, that children are a glue that holds you together, but the process of having children is very deleterious and detrimental to your actual physical marital relationship. Children are a storm that you have to survive. They're a storm you create, and they're a great storm. Mom's over there clapping. They're a great storm. They're wonderful. I love my children. I prayed for my children. It was a struggle for me to have them, Lashawn and for us to have children. So if I come off like I don't love kids, I love kids. I love my kids. I miss my kids when they're not around. But Lashawn and I survived our children with our relationship intact, and a lot of people don't. By the time them little kids are teenagers, the couple barely likes each other. And the kids are kind of wondering, they're almost afraid to tell the kids that they're not going to make it because they're afraid that the kids are going to blame themselves. And you know what? It is their fault. So it's a realistic fear Because it's almost kind of like you're trying to talk your kids out of something that is the truth. Because they're a little bit like, well, golly, I mean, y'all got together. Y'all were together. Why are y'all breaking up now? Now, maybe there were always issues from the beginning. More than likely, sure. But the kids just made it worse. And so the date night's important. I'm trying to figure out what's the question I'm answering. The date night's important, okay? Leave that kid with somebody you trust, okay? Not somebody crazy, somebody you trust. If you don't have anybody that you trust, then you're not giving enough. Start being more giving. Start mentoring. Start discipling. Start helping somebody. Feed a college student, and you'll have somebody to help watch your child. You don't have any help because you don't give. It's reciprocal. It's reciprocity. Give, and it shall be given unto you again. So if you make your home a place where college students just get to come on Sundays and after service, and they're just over there eating your pot roast, then now they start to love you because you feed what feeds you. And now you got help. Now you got some people that love you and you love them. And when you love people and they love you back, you can obligate them. Now you can leave little Kevontae Jr. DeDonche. I'm trying not to use that name. Now you can leave that little dude with his auntie Elizabeth. And you need that. You need to do that. You need to do that at least once a week. If not once a week, at least once every other week. At least once every other week. And you don't have to spend a lot of money either. Go to Wendy's, go to Chick-fil-A, and Chick-fil-A is a little pricey. But go to Taco Bell and buy a couple of burritos for a couple of bucks and go take a walk. Sit down in a movie or go stay at a hotel overnight. I don't know if you can get an overnight someone or something. My wife and I used to go out on dates, and we would just go to dinner, and then when we got back to the house, we would like creep. It was like we creep back in. It's like we didn't want everybody to know we were there, because then they want to come and analyze us and interview us to figure out what we did and where were we and why were we gone so long and did we bring them any food back. Well, my point is the dates kind of restore the fact that you're slowly draining the whole time. And when Lashawn and I start snapping at each other, it's because we aren't spending enough time together. So it's like we go on vacation, and it's like we fill the tank back up. And we just spend a whole lot of time together and have a great time with one another. And then when we get back, we know we're slowly going to be coming down. And it's like the date night's kind of and the date night's and the date night's but we're in our descent. We have become it's like when we're getting up, we have begun our descent back to the Raleigh-Durham area. And trust that you enjoyed your flight with us today, and welcome back to your life. As soon as you get home, your 3-year-old child will be there waiting for you. You know, and if you have a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, God, it's like talk radio. It's all Lydia all the time. That's just, when I call my daughter, it's Lydia Talk Radio. WLYD. It's just, you definitely got to get away. You definitely have to go on vacation. Whenever I sit down with couples and I counsel couples, and if I ask them, do you do a date night, 9 times out of 10, they say no. And if I say, when was the last time you were on vacation, 9 times out of 10, it's been more than 5 years. And it's not a coincidence that they're in crisis and they don't go out and they don't go on vacation. They're a direct correlation.
Next question. What did you learn from Carlton Pearson?
Good God. I think I learned, I met Carlton Pearson when I was 17 years old. I went to Tulsa, Oklahoma to go to Rhema. I was going to Higher Dimensions. If you saw his most recent movie, what was it called? What? Come Sunday. If you saw that movie, I just want you to know that they took great fictional liberties. The only way that movie would have been a real direct representation of what happened would have been if I had been in it, because I was there when it all fell apart. You know, they did a thing where they took old staff, which was primarily white, and kind of mixed it together. I think it was to probably appeal to white people, which is cool. I don't have any problems. But they just took, it was based on a true story. If it had been an actual biographical account, I would have been there. But anyway, when I first met him, I was 17. And Carlton was the first guy that really confirmed for me that I was called. I had, the confirmation for me had always been results and favor. I love my father, but my father wasn't someone that confirmed for me that I was called. That just wasn't his role in my life. He was my father, he's my physical father. And even though he was a man of God, that wasn't his role. Carlton was the first guy that was like, yo, Andy, you've got it. You're it. And I loved him. I still do love him. He's a lovable person. He's a great guy. I can't even begin to describe what all I learned from him. It's too much to say. I think probably what I will say in this quick little answer is that Carlton taught me what not to do, even more than he taught me what to do. What to do can change from place to place. The stuff that worked in Tulsa doesn't necessarily work here in North Carolina. And I said it to the guys in my fellowship, and I'm saying it now, that very often people are failing because they lack flexibility. You need to be flexible enough to adapt to the place that you are. But what not to do is universal. And Carlton really taught me what not to do. And he taught me what not to do verbally, and he taught me what not to do from his very life and his very existence. And as much as I love him, I don't want to be him. And I'm not going to be him. I'm not going to be him because I'm looking at him. But I learned a lot from him. World Overcomers is very much like Higher Dimensions. It really is. It even has some of the same weaknesses. It has similar strengths. It has similar weaknesses. And I'm trying to work and trying to surround myself with leaders who are strong where I'm not as strong, because I'm not everything. I can't be everything. There's no such thing as a perfect pastor. And if someone you know, or someone looks at World Overcomers and they're like, I don't like that about World Overcomers, there's a part of the stuff that they don't like about World Overcomers, that it's part of those reasons why World Overcomers is weak in that way is because I'm the pastor. And I'm not perfect. And if somebody else was to take this church over, I don't know who. Say all of a sudden we took somebody else and put them in here, and they became the senior pastor of World Overcomers. They might, more than likely, they'll probably make World Overcomers strong in an area where it's currently weak. But more than likely, it's going to end up weak in an area as well where it's strong. It's just how church is. It would be a mistake for me to try to find a carbon copy of myself to try to keep it strong where it's currently strong. I have to believe God for whoever he has next. And I'll have to make that decision 10, 15 years from now. I mean, I'm only 50. I'm a baby. I'm an old baby, but I'm a baby. I still got time. I'm still, still trying to be everything that God has called me to be. But I will have to make that decision. And I think the mistake is that a lot of times guys, and I'm saying it now so we'll record it so I can watch myself say this, but I think 70-year-old guys end up looking for, they're not looking for a successor, they're looking for a clone, and that's a mistake.
If you could be a member of any TV sitcom family, which would it be?
Jeez Louise. Any TV sitcom family. The problem with that question is that it's generational. It's generational. And I'm just too old. I might end up saying something that you're like, what? Chico and the Man? I mean, there's no telling what I might say. I've seen so many TV sitcom families throughout the generations of time that I've been on this planet. It's just it's a very loaded question. If you expect me to say the Cosby Show, you're sadly mistaken. There's no way I'd want to be in the Cosby family. There's no way. Are you crazy? No, I would not have wanted to be in that family. I guess that, and that's not because of poor Bill Cosby's current predicament or perspective. It has nothing to do with that. I just don't, I mean, I watched the Cosby Show. I thought it was good. I thought it was funny. I just don't know if I would have wanted to be in that family. I don't know. Well, what family, Pastor Andy? I'm going to tell you the truth. I mean, I don't know. Would I have wanted to be Georgia Wheezy Jefferson's child? My mama to be Wheezy? I certainly don't want to be in Good Times. Good God, I know that. I don't know. It's a tough question. Different strokes. It's a tough question, you know. Maybe what's happening. But the problem with what's happening is, hey, you're a single mama. You know, she's working hard. She was no joke. Raj, and you got to deal with D. Oh, God, she needed to be strangled. Where's D today? Good God, help us, Jesus. I don't know. That's a good question. That is a very, very good question. And see, like, I didn't watch like Family Matters or any of that. I didn't really watch that show. Did I do that? I didn't watch that show. I didn't. My kids watched it, but I didn't really watch it. So maybe the Goldbergs. You ever see the Goldbergs? Modern Family. Blackish. I think it would be funny to be in Blackish. I think that would be a funny family. That would be a funny family to be a part of, just because of how absolutely crazy he is. And both the parents are really crazy in that. I feel like the more crazy they are, the more fun it's going to be. The Cosbys were so good and calm. Where I kind of feel like with Blackish, they're nuts. And that probably would have been a riot, you know. And to be a sibling of that little evil twin girl, that girl, I love that girl. So anyway. Okay.
How did you know that First Lady Lashawn was the one?
How did I know she was the one? That's a big question. First of all, I don't think that there's only one person. I think that there's a number of people that you can have a good center of the will of God relationship with. So some of them closer to the center of the will of God than others. The last 4 girls that I dated are all married, and they're all in the ministry. So it's not like I'm sitting here like, ooh, dodged the bullet. I had gotten it down. I had kind of gotten it in there, you know, to a good place. Last 2, 3, 4 girls I dated are all married to preachers. So sometimes I think about what my life would have been like with one of them. I don't think it would have been a horrible life. I'm not looking at there thinking, oh my God, whew, I'm so glad. I mean, I think there would have been some differences. I think for me and Lashawn, we we had a friendship first, and I think that foundation was different than other relationships that I had had. But she had a strength, and I think that was the key for me. Something I've been saying to these young guys, and something I'm saying to everybody that's watching, is that men and women are strong, but women are strong in another kind of way. Women have a depth. And there's a depth of strength that you're looking for in a quality woman. The challenge of it is that they have the power of change. We have the power of choice. But when you meet a strong woman, she's deep, and so she's not easily waverable. I think one of the saddest things that has happened is how much the enemy has attacked women, particularly African American women in our particular culture, so that they're so easily swayed. Because I think that the foundation of the depth of a culture is the strength of the women. And not that men aren't strong, but we're strong in a different way. Lashawn she was strong, she was tough, and still sweet, still nice to me. She had a way of telling me something I needed to hear without me feeling disrespected by it. And I didn't have to feel like I had to be the heavy, or I had to be the only adult, or I had to be everything. I think I was able to rest in my vulnerability and not feel like I was going to be judged for not being perfect. And I think when I saw that, when I realized that she had answers that I needed without making me feel like I was her child, I was like, yeah, this is going to be cool. Because I needed a partner, but I didn't need a mother. And I think there's an iron that sharpens iron, and men sharpen one another. And a guy that needs to be sharpened by a woman just doesn't have enough men around. Unfortunately, that has been the case for so many men. That just wasn't necessarily my case. And I was seeking men. I had my father, but I was also seeking relationships like we talked about Carlton. How did I know? There was all kinds of things. Obviously, I was attracted physically, and Lashawn really was my type physically, and I think that's important. But I honestly do think that it was her strength that made me be like, yo, yeah, this chick is the bomb, and I'm not going to have to be Superman all the time. It's one of my favorite scenes in Justice League. I don't know if anybody saw Justice League. I know some people hated it. It ain't Marvels, and it's not Avengers, and blah, 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 blah. I hear you. But my favorite part of that last Justice League movie is when Superman came back, and he was just kicking people's behinds, boy. He was not happy. Only thing that stopped him was Lois Lane. Sorry, I'm just kidding. I know her name. Lois Lane came up there, and there's a life that's there. So anyway.
Should a congregation be concerned with their pastor's life beyond the church?
Oh, gosh. Yes. I think very deeply. So you're a philosopher. Yes. Yes. I mean, yes. I mean, one of the things that we say is, healthy leader, healthy people, healthy church. If the church is healthy, it should experience some maturity and some growth. And we're definitely at a place now in which I get it. Pastors want kind of their private life to be private, and it's a part of the challenge of being in the ministry, is that it is one of the few jobs. Although I think this is, I don't even know if it's really fair. Because I think if your personal life is not together, it can erode any career. But I don't know if people care as much about their dentist's personal life as they care about their pastor's personal life. And I think that's been a challenge and can be very galling for senior pastors. And it has made some guys, especially, to feel trapped in a relationship with someone that they don't care about. But to me, that should just make you all the more serious about who you choose. The stakes are higher. But I think that we are living in a world in which it's kind of almost like a don't ask, don't tell kind of policy. And I don't want to sound like I'm condemning of that. So I kind of choked because I'm like, I don't want to make it seem like, I think there has definitely been times when I would like my private life to be private. But I think that when it comes to a senior pastor in particular, you know someone because of their fruit. You're attracted to their gifts, but you know someone because of their fruit. And so it is not insane to be interested in the fruit of your pastor's personal life. And I'm not trying to throw any shade or trying to judge anyone, because we all need grace. But I think to be effective, your personal life is a factor. So I'll leave it at that.
The last question for today: what is the most random fact you know?
The most random fact I know? Oh, wow. I mean, I know a lot of random facts, but that's an extremely loaded question. I don't forget a lot of stuff. I remember all kinds of songs from when I was a child. In upside down town, the sky's on the ground. The sea is where the sky should be. The rain is falling up instead of falling down, down. In upside down town. Oh, what a funny sight to see, a bunny in a tree where a bird should be. I mean, there's so much running around in this head of mine. Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. Again. Nothing up my sleeve. Presto, rawr. Random fact, God. I don't know. I think all of the facts I know are relevant. I think they're relevant facts. So I don't know. That's a tough question. I can't think of a random fact that I know. Well,
give us one fact about you.
A fact about me?
Yeah, that nobody would probably know.
Oh, God. So now I have to share something personal? Because if I say it, then everybody's going to know it. If I say this random fact, and if I say this and everyone's going to know, I don't care. Probably an extremely random fact that people don't know, most people don't know, is that one of my legs is shorter than the other. One of my legs is about 1 inch shorter than the other. And I wasn't born that way. It's from a football injury, and so now, all my shoes have lifts on them, and it's kind of this It's like when I was at this party the other day for my buddy. We went to the party, and they, it was like a bowling thing, and they wanted me to bowl. Like, oh, you gonna bowl? And I was like, I can't bowl. And they're like, why can't you bowl? And I'm like, well, I can't bowl because they won't let you bowl unless you put on the bowling shoes. And I can't wear the bowling shoes because my left leg is an inch shorter than my right leg. And so, number one, my back will start hurting after a while. But number two, the ball just always ends up rolling to the left. I need those bumpers up, exactly. It's kind of like a rule. It's just, sit down. There you go. There's a random fact. All right, so this was good. I trust this was a good show. Next week we'll be back a couple days after Christmas. Take it easy. If you're in the Raleigh-Durham area, we're definitely having church this Sunday. I'll be here in Durham. Pastor Manny will be in Raleigh. I believe it's going to be Pastor Manny. We're going to have an awesome, awesome time together. We have New Year's Eve service. It's about to come up. And probably the biggest service we have of the year is New Year's. Happens New Year's Eve night, the 31st. You don't want to miss it. We're having 2 services, 7 and 10. And it's going to be awesome. We're going to talk about what the new theme is for the year, and married couples renew their vows, and singles make up. It's a lot of great stuff that happens in our New Year's Eve service. Start the New Year's off right by worshiping the Lord. Look forward to seeing you there.